Such a shame. What happened to your flowers? Have they found the person who took them yet?
Oh, Karen, we already know who it was. I'm guessing you didn't see our cameras we have set up. r/EntitledParents. Our first story we'll be reading today. You Can't Stop Stupid 3.5, The Update Spree, from user DFatman. After that, Entitled Kid tries to take my laptop, but fails, from user Pokey3Mom12. Thank you so much to our authors for letting us read your stories, and if you're an author who would like me to read your stories next, please submit them to the r/Mr. Reddit subreddit. And if you're new, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories every single day. You Can't Stop Stupid 3.5, The Update Spree. Holy donuts, everyone. It's your favorite, oversized, Army General Security Guard here, DFatman, here to tell you a few updates to some of my previous posts, since I know a few of you wonder what happened to the members of the entitled army that I have encountered over the years. As per the normal, my previous warnings are still applied, and my previous stories will be linked at the bottom. Now, this post has been broken up a little to keep each section self-contained so they don't run into each other. I will try my best to give context where I can for which events I'm giving updates on, so I will try to break them up with these symbols. With all that out of the way, let's get this shindig going. Flood Wall, Miss Virago. Now, I have seen some comments ask if the kid was alright jumping in river water like he did, and I'm here to say, the kid is alright. How do I know this? I've had a few more run-ins since then, namely 3 that come to mind, as well as some foobarring going on because of her, and I will explain. Since the city had taken over the flood wall, I no longer needed to be down there, so I went about my business and had worked at other locations, much like a power company or at a baseball diamond. Most of the time, I would sit in my car listening to music or play stuff on my phone tablet. Nothing too big to keep my focus completely trained on, so I can always keep what I'm watching in my field of view. Well, this was about a month since the flood wall, when this Miss Virago decided to rear her ugly head. I swear to no end that I sensed this lady coming. It's like you would see in cartoons or TV shows when some characters would talk about another and it would cut over to them as they sneeze. It was kind of like that. It seems after dealing with enough of these entitled idiots, I gained some kind of entitled sense or something. But regardless, I was sitting at the ball diamond making sure people wouldn't hop the fence or spray the wall. Something we've had issues with before. Well, that's when I felt the dreaded Rheosaurus Rex come as a cold shiver ran up my spine. Like someone was dancing on my grave or something of that sort. That's when I heard it.
You.
My eyes widened as I heard the lady growl at me. I turned to see her coming up from behind me in the parking lot. Behind her was her husband and son. The former looked like he wanted to bail as soon as the crazy switch was flipped, and I could not blame him one bit. The first thing I did as soon as I see this lady come towards me was turn on my car and roll up my windows to keep Miss Shovensmack from hitting me. If this lady is crazy enough to slap something out of a cop's hand, I sure as heck know she would do the same thing to me. Course it wouldn't be the first time, and won't be the last time.
You will get out of this car and face me like a man.
The heck I will. Her husband. Dear, leave the guard alone. We don't have the money to bail you out again.
No, he humiliated me and got me arrested.
Me. No, you did that all by yourself. I was only doing my job. Her husband. Honey, let's go. The husband at this time tried to pull Miss Virago away from my car, which worked for about a few seconds before she decided to drop him to his knees after stomping on his foot and nailing him in the Royal Twins. Even I had to wince, as I swear I could feel that from the car. Is it just me, Or does every guy feel the hit when they see another guy get nailed there? I digress. As soon as she was free and tried to get after me, taking the smart route, I decided to call the cops, and after a bit of telling them what's going on. So after a bit, while this woman was trying to get at me, even going as far as trying to punch her way through the window, the cops show up, and the best bit of sweet justice is that she ended up getting tased. You have no idea how enjoyable it was for me to watch this. After that, the cop takes my statement and the husband's as she's dragged off to be arrested. Again. I had asked the husband why was she so gung-ho after me, after I was able to help him up to his feet, because that was a hard hit from what he had told me. He explained that after being arrested twice, word got around about what happened. I'm not sure how it did, but nonetheless, it did, and it seems that it got brought up one too many times. Me. Why did you bail her out after the second time? I wanted to know, mostly because it just seems crazy to me. Her husband. It's just that I'm the only working parent, and I didn't have anyone to watch our son. Because of her, I'm guessing? Yeah. Then why don't you just divorce her and find someone new? A lot of people say I am a very blunt and to-the-point person. That's when this bomb gets dropped on me. He's in the middle of doing that, secretly from his wife's knowledge. Part of this was because he got a job offer in a different city, and he's going to take it, which I don't blame him one bit. So after a few moments talking to him, the husband leaves with his son, since they wanted to see if they could get tickets to one last game. So before shipping off, I gave the kid one of my extra sodas I keep in my car for these shifts after I got the father's approval. So they head off, and I go back to my shift. Now, the other time I dealt with this woman was at least a month after this event, but for a different reason. After she was freed from jail, she began to call into my job at the time and complain about me at the site. There was a small problem with this, however. She kept referring to the locations that I haven't been to in over a month, as the city had taken over due to the cleanup. So this all leads up to one of my supervisors coming to me while I was on shift and handing me the complaints, which I looked over and pointed out a key detail. As I said, the location where I haven't been in over a month. So after checking to see if it was the same lady, which they confirmed it was, they said they will have the complaints dropped. Since then, I hadn't heard about this lady, which was a relief. Tulip, Mrs. Harridan. Now, Mrs. Harridan here is a classic case of an entitled lady's scorn. Sadly for her, she decided to unleash this upon the one guy who was prepared. Now, for a too long didn't read version of the original post. After I told her son to leave my dad's tulips alone, he got his mother to come back, where I ended up getting her with a bullhorn by making her walk off in a huff. This takes place a few weeks afterward from this, and well into the summer at this point. That night, we had an incident where my dad's tulips were destroyed, something that didn't go over well with him. Now, for quite some time, we had cameras installed for things like this. As I said in previous posts, I talked about kids doing some rather mean things, but on top of that, we've had break-ins to cars, and on top of that, stuff stolen. So this was mainly the reason why we had a total of 10 cameras pointed to cover every part of the yard, front and back. But we made sure that the cameras were not in sight if you were trying to look for them. We were pretty sneaky with the placement of the cameras. Now that night in the video, you can see a woman come up and start ripping out the tulips out of the flower bed, all but the one, which that one was dug out and put in a flower pot before said person walked off camera. The problem was that this was during the night, and the night vision mode didn't have a good enough focus to catch her face well enough, but it did catch enough of the outfit. We ended up calling the cops and had a police report done. We figured nothing will come from it, as I had explained to the cops who I thought it may be, that being Mrs. Harridan, but I was told that the image wasn't good enough to tell who it was, which annoyed me, but I can sort of understand this. Roll around a few days later. I decided to sit outside again and was reading, mostly because I wanted to get out of the basement. Ready Player One by Ernest Cline, for those that are curious. Well, I'm sitting there reading till I notice a shadow from someone walking up to me. I looked up to see Mrs. Harridan standing there, smug as ever.
Shame what happened to your tulips.
Yeah. Something about her was striking a note in the back of my head, and using my phone, I pulled up the footage from the other night. Mostly if I saw the same outfit again, which for me, this lady was wearing the same outfit, even the same hairstyle.
Were they able to figure out who did it?
It depends on who you mean by they. This annoyed her, and I so enjoyed it.
Well, the cops. Duh.
She said this in a very childish way. Not yet. At this point, I had the cameras up on my phone and with the free hand pointed up to my camera just out of sight of the lady.
What are you pointing at?
All I did was smirk at her as she moved closer to look at the camera I had set up this angle, just to keep an eye on packages that show up in the mail. Mostly because I order a lot for my family or myself, and we've had the next door neighbor steal them from us before. But regardless, after she sees the camera, I watched as she suddenly went ash white. Oh, I'm just pointing at the camera that caught the person that did it. After that, she ran off, and to make this a bit shorter, she ended up getting arrested and had to pay for new tulips. Sucks to be her. Tee-hee. D Fat Man versus A Fat Man, or Return of Piglet. 13 years. After 13 years, I end up running into this entitled jerk again. Let me give you some needed context, because this was one of those days that I kind of wish didn't happen. For those wondering, this was about 5 days after my last post talking about this person. The world has that funny and slightly mean-spirited way of doing people over. This was one of those cases. So something I didn't say in the last post was the aftermath of being maced. Mrs. Piggy did get arrested, and I don't remember the charges as it was 13 years ago. While I may have a good memory of some events, it's not perfect, and I will never claim it to be. What I do remember is that she took a plea of insanity, which, with how much of a religious nut she was, I could totally believe it. So, in the end, Mrs. Piggy was committed and labeled crazy. I don't mean that whole, oh, she's just crazy. No, I mean having to take meds, padded room, bouncing off the walls crazy. After all this, the husband apologized to me directly for what his wife had done to me. That's when I had found out what Miss Piggy was saying when she said,
Do you know who my husband is?
He was an ex-cop, wounded in the line of duty, but was left in a state where he couldn't perform his duties anymore. From what I could guess, after he was wounded, his wife began going off the deep end, to put it nicely. Well, while my parents and I talked to Mr. Piggy, Piglet would only glare at me. Before we all left, Piglet kicked me in the leg and ran off. That was the last time I had saw or even thought about it until I typed up the post after talking to Mark and Jeff, who I had reconnected with after we had a falling out, mostly between Jeff and I, as it had come to blows, but that's a story for another time. Maybe an r/Tales from a Fat Man kind of post, who knows. As of this point in the post, which is being typed up 2 days after what just happened, I had a run-in with Piglet again. Now, as I had said, this was over 13 years from seeing him again, so at first I didn't think it was him, as this was at a gas station as I had to go through for a few snacks for my shift and to use the restroom. That's when I noticed him. Now, remember the last time I saw him, he was a little butterball of a kid, around 10. Now he was close to a 23-year-old fat man. Messy long hair that would make any 90s rock star jealous from how much headbanging he could do with it, contained within a backward ball cap, much like Silent Bob would wear, with no other but Piglet from Winnie the Pooh on it. For those wondering, when he was a kid, we would call him Piglet. Well, mostly Jeff, Mark, and I would. I guess much like his own nickname, it kind of stuck with him. Now, Piglet was bigger than I was, and bear in mind, I'm over 420 pounds. Yes, I'm aware of the joke with the number. But regardless, Piglet looked like if I had ate 2/3 of me to just put you in the ballpark of size. So close for 600 just from an eyeball guess. He was looking at the 2 liters while I was over by the snacks, and I had settled on a bag of pretzels, mainly because they were cheap, and I know most of the bag wasn't filled with mostly air. That's when one of his friends who was by me spoke up. For the sake of the story, let's call him Dave. Dave. Hey, Piglet, grab your darn 2 liters and let's go. This caused me to jump, mostly because I didn't expect to hear that name again. I turned to look at the piglet as he grabbed a few 2 liters of different flavors and turned to Dave, who was standing close to me. That's when his eyes laser focused onto me. Now, I haven't changed much from back then. Well, besides, I didn't have my large ponytail that I had back then. Mostly because I liked having long hair back then. I'm weird like that, and I still had my beard. Nothing long, just enough to cover my face. I could see something dawn in his face as he opened his mouth. Piglet.
I'm coming. I just need to grab a few things.
He said this while moving towards Dave and I. Taking my cue to get the heck out of there, I paid for my snack and headed to my car. What I didn't expect, reaching my passenger side door, was getting my head slammed into my car from behind. Piglet had rushed out of the gas station and went after me.
You!
He growled at me after doing that. What he said next was far, far worse than what I'm about to type.
You jerk! How dare you show your ugly face to me after getting my mom committed?
Through all this, he was breathing hard out of anger, and I know how that anger can feel. There are a few people who would draw that same reaction out of me, but I do have a lot more control of emotions than I did back in the day. But he did hit my flip switch by nailing me in the face with my car, so I was not in the best of mood. Me. And what are you gonna do about it? I say this after opening up my side door while still facing him and tossed my snacks in my seat. Then shut my door so I could keep my hands free, because Mama didn't raise a fool. Maybe an idiot, but not a fool.
I'm going to get you back for my mom.
Right then, he reached into his pants pocket and pulled out a pocket knife. Slowly reaching down, I tapped the button for my trunk. The reason I opened my trunk was I kept something I could easily protect myself with in it, which was a metal pole that I would use for leverage when using a four-way to change my tires. For those wondering why I had this, it's because I had lost a lot of strength in my right arm from a car accident that shattered my elbow. But I digress. Piglet's eyes turned to my trunk as it made a sound when it popped. He then focused on me and ran at me. When he was close enough, I stepped to the side and watched as Piglet slammed into my car and bounced off. Taking my chance, I went to my trunk and grabbed the steel pole and readied myself as Piglet got back up. That's when Dave stepped out, catching all this, and tackled his friend.
Let me go. He's gotta pay.
Dave. Dude, settle down. They began to fight, which sadly for Piglet, Dave was a lot stronger. This was due to Dave looking like he works out on a regular basis. Not like muscle man workout, but more like the guy just looking to be fit strong. After this time, the cops had shown up. What I didn't know till afterward was that the gas station attendant saw what happened out the window and called them. To make this long update short, Piglet was arrested for assault. Dave and I were let go, as I was only protecting myself, and Dave was trying to stop Piglet. The cops got my number and told me that if they needed me to testify that they will call. But with the footage from the gas station, they didn't think they would, as it would more than likely be enough. After all that, I get in my car and went back to work. I had let my supervisor know what happened, and I just took some deep breaths to stop shaking after all that. To be honest, I was rather rattled from the encounter, and had talked a little bit to people on Discord to help to calm myself down. Partly from being attacked, as well as the adrenaline finally running out. I am shaking a little bit writing this, as it had rattled me a bit, and this isn't my only run-in with a weapon-wielding idiot. But that's a story for another time. As it goes to show you that you can't stop stupid and you can't escape crazy. With all that said, I would like to thank everyone for your kind comments, as they do help me out and help me feel better. Especially after reading things like this, it does help a lot. And to Mr. Reddit, thank you for your awesome readings, and thank you again for reading my stories. I do hope you're having a good day. Thank you for reading. Hope you enjoyed. Next, we've got Entitled Kid Tries to Take My Laptop, but Fails. So on one Christmas, my sister and I got a laptop and we used it for many things. Quite recently, my laptop stopped working, so I used my sister's when she lets me. My mom has some classes for something, not gonna specify, and sometimes her classes take place at a McDonald's, so my sister and I tag along. My sister takes her laptop and many other devices to use when we're bored. Our cast. We've got me. We've got Entitled Mom, Enormous Mammal. We've got Entitled Kid, her Goblin, and the Nice Employee. So we enter the McDonald's, and my mom goes to the table her class is held. My sister and I go to a table near the play place. We are on our phone for a bit when I see Entitled Mom and Entitled Kid, who's about 6 to 8, enter the McDonald's. I don't think anything of it, because many kids come to this McDonald's with their moms. It's about 5 minutes, and I get bored scrolling through Reddit, so I ask my sister to use her laptop. She hesitantly agrees and gives it to me. I open it up and start playing a game called Survive.io. 10 minutes go by, and I feel breathing on my neck, and I turn around suddenly while trying to hide in a bush. In game. Hey!
Hey!
That's all we say for about 2 minutes, and I keep playing. I sigh, pretending I was mad, so the kid seems amused.
Can I try?
Sorry, but this is not my computer, and I can't lend it to anyone. My sister is sitting in another area, so doesn't know this is happening.
Oh, come on.
Sorry, bud. The entitled kid walks off a bit upset, and I don't hear anything of him for a bit. About 10 minutes later, I see a kid running down the aisle I was sitting in, and where I was seated, it would be easy to grab the laptop. You know what he did? He tried to grab it. I'm way older and stronger, so he can't take it away. Hey! Not too loud, but enough to catch his attention. Thank God this laptop had a 180 hinge, or else that kid's grip would have broke it for sure. He pulls harder.
Give it to me.
This is not yours. Entitled kid intentionally lets go. The entitled kid falls back, and he hits his head on the chair that was behind him and starts crying really loudly. My sister looks, but doesn't really do anything, but signals to me, "What happened?" Me mouthing, "Hold on." My mom and her class pay no attention as they think that it's a baby crying. Entitled Mom comes running and picks up Entitled Kid, saying,
It's okay. What the heck happened?
Me trying to stay calm. Ma'am, your son, I'm guessing, tried to steal a laptop that wasn't his and let go on purpose to get hurt and get me into trouble.
My angel would never do that, you liar.
I am not lying. He really did.
Stop lying and give him that computer.
It is not his, so no. Nice employee. Is there anything wrong? Entitled Mom.
He
Points at me.
hit my son and stole his computer. I want him arrested.
Is this true, OP? Me. No. Entitled Mom interrupts me.
Yes, it is. Now have him kicked out.
I'm furious now. No, it's not. This is my sister's computer, and I can prove it. Ask him what the wallpaper is. I close the computer, and since I have the window open of my game, it is impossible for me to have seen the wallpaper after I stole it. Nice employee. So, entitled kid? His mom now knows that this is a problem and runs off with her kid. Nice employee. Well, obviously it is yours. She smiles. Yes, it is. Thank you for helping. No problem. She walks away and I keep playing. This is my first post on r/EntitledParents, and I'm on mobile right now, so sorry for bad formatting. I'll fix it later. By the way, this was today, about 10 minutes ago, and I'm still here. And congrats to our re-generals of the day: Sasuke, Chissy Spider, K9 Gamer, and Nobody. Become tomorrow's re-generals by dropping as many re's as you can in the comments below.